So 88.1 kilometres remain. What's happened since that group of 22 went over the climb? Well, I will tell you. There was a crash on that ascent. Luke Durbridge forced to abandon, as we just said. He was already suffering from stomach trouble anyway. The presence of Steve Morabito of BMC in that original break, just 1 minute and 31 off the lead, and of course the leader Cadel Evans' teammate, meant that it really wouldn't be allowed to stick. 14 riders went out there then, and 14 riders would stick out there, gaining around a 4.5, 5 minute lead. Francesco Bongiorno, Moreno Moser, Francis Muri, Jan Polantz, Bjorn Thorau, Roman Sicard and Pierre Kemeneux, all from the same team. Jonathan Monsalve, Georg Preidler, Ivan Rovny and Nicholas Roach for Tinkoff Sack. So Philip Deignan will be there as well, and two men from Team Katusha, Danny Moreno and Eduard Vorganov. A busy day in the breakaway as we head towards Genoa. I can tell you, though, it's already broken up again. 4 men from that group have then broken away. Moser, Kemeneux, Roach and Monsalve. They were reported to have around 20 seconds. And we'll go out on the course in just a moment and tell you exactly what's happening up there. There's Genoa, famous port city, famous the world over, of course. World explorers have set off from here. Really does feel like an old port town, worth visiting on its day. We're going off for a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the real situation in the race in just a minute's time. 84.6 kilometres remain. A few riders hitting the deck today. Garmin have had a bit of a horrid day. They've lost Fabian Beckman. Dylan Van Baal, though, whose birthday it is, right at the back. Now then, Androni Giocattoli riding at the front. Good afternoon, Sean Kelly. They're riding because, for once, they've missed out on a break that they surely wanted to make.
Yes, well, we did hear the pre-race interviews. You know, everybody was talking about the breakaway and talking about who could stay away. I think there was a lot of teams saying, well, you know, today's a day, looks like a break and stay away, and you have to be in it, guys. But they have missed it, and surprising because, you know, Androni, they have been in the break, I think, every day. Unfortunately, this one, which could go to the end, they're not in there, and having to ride here with this big group, it's going to, you know, take a lot out of a team to do it. If you miss the breakaway, sometimes it's just better to say, well, we've missed it today, cut our losses, and we'll wait for another day, because you chase and chase, and in the end you get not a lot out of it, unless you have a sprinter where it's a flat stage. But that's not the case today with this difficult final. It's hard to see the team of Androni doing anything in the end of this one.
Well, it needs several teams to come together and really get interested in this. We've got a strong group at the front. It had broken down into a 4 of Moser, Kemeneux, Roach and Monsalve, but the rest of them pulled them back in. Let's go through the rest of them. Francesco Bongiorno of the Bardiani team. He's the man in the lime green and white there. Coming through for Sky is Philip Deignan. 2 Irishmen in the break today, by the way, alongside Nicholas Roach. Philip Deignan there, the Sky rider. Danny Moreno and Eduard Vorganov of Team Katusha. Only leaves 3 of their teammates back in the bunch, considering Katusha were already down to very few riders indeed. Who else is there? 3 riders from Europcar, Kemeneux, Sicard and Thorau all together. Jan Polantz, the only man from Lamprimerida. I can tell you that Diego Lisi, 2-time stage winner already on this Giro, has already hit the deck and had a fall today. Francis Muri is there for Française des Jeux, and Georg Preidler of Giant Shimano. It's been going off right from the very start today. You surprised, Sean, that there was a real fight, or is it pretty obvious, given that this was destined to be a breakaway day if ever there was one?
Well, I think it's a day that you look at the race manual and you see the way it looked hill, you know, in the very early part after 66 kilometres. You had the summit of the hill, so, you know, you had a bit of, about 45, 50 kilometres of racing to do, and then you had the climb. So they were going to get out, and again, you know, into that point of the race now where there's so many riders a long ways down in general classification, and they're going to try, and the teams and the riders who haven't got anything, as we can see here, a discussion going on once again. But you know, it's coming to the time in the race where the breaks will succeed, and it's an amazing thing. We're into stage 11 and there's only 1 break have succeeded in staying away in this race, but from now on the teams will be expecting more, and for that reason, you know, we have a lot of riders up in the breakaway again today.
A lot of riders up in the break. That was an interesting discussion there. Tinkoff Saxo rider coming up to the front and saying, come on guys, get that motorbike away. We don't want Androni getting any help through the streets here. The rider riding on the front for Androni, Sean, was basically saying, well, he's 10 metres away, what's your problem? It's very interesting. Tinkoff, Saxo, 2 riders in the break. They'll feel really good, especially, I think, with Nicholas Roach, very motivated to get something out of this race. No, he's not riding for GC. And today, the day, not just given the profile, Sean, but let's also think ahead to tomorrow. We have the time trial coming up. Will a lot of the general classification guys be trying to save a bit of energy today?
Well, they always hope they can save energy day before the time trial, but it depends on what way the race works out. And the breakaway, you know, if the wrong men are in the breakaway, well, then you have no choice. You have to start riding. And, you know, with Cat 11's BMC, if that was the case, where there were danger man, they'd have to control. And I'm sure earlier on as well, there was riders getting into breakaways that, you know, weren't the correct ones. And if you allow them to get out there, you have to try and close it down in the end. So, you know, this one is not going to be a problem for them. 14 riders, but nobody really very close in the general classification of real danger. But again, when you get a big breakaway, you have to be careful, because to pull them back, it's always a big one, as we can see more crashes here.
Well, we saw not too long ago the birthday boy Dylan van Baarle had taken a hit, and that looks a particularly nasty one on the right-hand side for Salvatore Puccio. Last year in the Giro d'Italia, he was making his debut, he was pulling on the pink jersey, but there he's taken a lot of skin off his right thigh. He's hit the face, he's hit the deck with his face, also the elbow and shoulder as well. And it looks as though there isn't much of his body that's escaped with road rash there. Well,
another kit, as we've been talked about in this race, the number of kits we've gone through. I'd love to be able to, you know, get a number on the kits that they've gone through since we started in Belfast. I think for Puccio, it looks a little bit worse than it is. You know, he has a little bit of road rash there on his hip, touched his face a little bit. It doesn't look anything to be deep. It's, you know, the danger is he have to do more damage. He smack himself hard off the road and you know, suffering from an injury for the next number of days. But if it's only just the road rash we see there, those guys are tough. That's not a worry him.
Tough bike riders out there on the course as we come through the windy streets of Genoa, one of the biggest ports in its day, heyday as a city. Centuries ago, of course, the Empire of Genoa once ruled this section of the Mediterranean. Genovese, its own dialect, then spread to Corsica and Sardinia as well. That's the Christopher Columbus Genoa Airport. Michele Scarponi wanting to go back to the car. Looking sore. Now then. No further footage there. I was getting a sneaking feeling that he was about to say he'd had enough then.
And we could see the way Bernie Eisel looked at him. He gave a strange look over his left shoulder, and we see Bernie Eisel yesterday. It was a difficult one from the end, the way Sky were riding, and he was in difficulty, and we could see the way he was shouting. I'm not sure was it to go harder or slow down, but he left a big shout, and then it was just started to go backwards really on the climb.
Well, here is Scarponi, having already gone backwards to the team car, the medical car. Doesn't look like he's been on the ground a day, but as we know, he's been on the ground often enough in this Giro d'Italia. He has been really struggling. Down his right-hand side, he's got all sorts of abrasions and bruises. Supposedly nothing broken. Just trying to really hang in there, recover a bit and work for Fabio Aru in the last week of the Giro d'Italia. Before that happens, Sean, Fabio Aru and the rest of them must do a good time trial tomorrow. It's going to be one of the big days marked down for everybody in the Giro d'Italia.
Well, it's a really important day. Anybody who's up there in the general classification in position to have a fight for a place in the top 5, the top 10, possibly the top podium. The pressure's on everybody, and of course, if you're in 10th position at the moment, and you know, you're like Aru, for example, at 1:39, that's a real good position. But if you're still 3 minutes down, you do a good time trial, and you're a good climber, then you can you know, do a lot in the mountain stages to come. So it's all very much to play for. If you've got through this far and you're, you know, around that 3 minutes down, you're a general classification man. You know, big pressure on tomorrow on all those guys.
Now, I've seen it suggested that Gianni Savio's punishing Androni here by making them ride on the front for having missed the break.
Yes, I think it is a bit of punishment, but they're doing a good job here. You know, 3:20, 3:30 at the moment, 78 kilometres. So we're inside, you know, that the calculation, a minute per 10 kilometres, you know, is no problem here. And with 78 kilometres to go when you're at 3:30, there's other teams maybe as well not happy with the situation up front. They might start to ride. If you're allowed to take 8 minutes at this moment, well then, and you have to start riding, other teams will say, well, to catch it is going to be a big ask. It's not sure we can do it, but you know, at the moment it is possible. But you know, as we see, Androni has done a lot of work, and I'm afraid they're going to pay the price if they do manage to close it down.
Well, there's a lot of people who have missed out on this break, remember. Most of them do have general classification contenders. Now then, more results of what looks like the same crash that Dylan Van Baarle was in, given the fact that there's all the mud on the kit there. Looks okay as there's some bottle running being done as well. But we're getting the first real evidence of what will have happened on that descent, we presume, because we haven't heard of any other crashes really, that it's the same crash that took out Luke Durbridge on the way down from the first climb from the Passo Cento Croci. Well, we'll wait for news on that and any other injuries we might have picked up. For the minute, the gap is 3 minutes and 27. One other little political thing to consider here is that Androni might not be the most popular of teams amongst those GC contenders who might have wanted a quiet day today. We'll explore that and the rest when we come back. Should have been the longest stage of the Giro today, 249 kilometres. Some might require a push. Stage 11. Of course, we had an extension last week to one of the stages at the end that took us above 250 kilometres. This remains one of the most open stages of this Giro d'Italia, and we've had more riders hitting the deck. This is absolutely crazy now. Free from Europe car down, a couple of riders from BMC who already had a problem yesterday. Neri Sottoli with multiple bike changes, the entire Sky team as well, and Steve Morabito is the man down. Well, that is big news for BMC. Also for Astana, André Zeitz going down as well. Maxime Montfort, the general classification contender for Lotto Belisol. Well, the fact that Montfort and, of course, Steve Morabito are in there means that there will probably have to be somebody who wants to wait for the rest of them. Will Androni continue digging on at the front, or will they wait? That is the question. BMC, though, under pressure yesterday with Yannick Eisen having to retire. And we're seeing Dennis van den Dert here being attended to as well. Ben Swift again hitting the deck. So many riders down. And Neri Sottoli have already lost 3 riders. There with Simone Ponzi down. And Simone Ponzi, if it did come back together towards the end, would have been a big threat. Now, this is where it happened, Sean.
It looks like it's in just pretty much at the front, touching together, and down they go, and it's amazing, you know, the crashes we're having on the descent. Sometimes, you know, you can have that because they're really descending strongly, and they get caught on a corner, but here driving along and down they go once again, and you know, so many riders down there, 10 or 15 riders.
Well, I wonder if that is coming through on the radio. This is the break, by the way. 3 minutes and 21 ahead of the peloton. Again, is there anybody left who's untouched by all of this road rash? Nicholas Roach comes to the front. Big day for him. What do Androni do here, Sean? Do they wait, or do they continue to press on?
Well, I think that they're pressing on here. It doesn't look like they're slowing down too much, and they have been riding, of course, without any help from the other team. So they're going to say, well, we have been doing this for, you know, 30 kilometres, and we're going to continue on here. And that's what they're doing at the moment. And it's the situation, you know, when there's a crash, if you're riding along at an easy pace and there's not anything happening. But if you're taking control of the race for a long time, well, then normally you continue. And I think they're under pressure here to close this one. If they do knock it down and knock it off for a while, well, then this gap is going to grow by 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes maybe, and then it's going to be an impossible task for to close it. As it is, it's going to be a difficult one.
It's going to be a very difficult task indeed. BMC, though, worrying about Steve Morabito. And Steve Morabito is so important, Sean, because not only is he the biggest helper for Cadel Evans in the mountains, as well as Samuel Sanchez, he's also their second option on GC. He's just 1 minute and 31 back and going very strong.
Yes, well, I think he's going to be the man that's going to be very important later when the race gets difficult. And Morabita.
We're now seeing Cadel Evans going to have a chat with Androni, Sean.
Yes, he's trying to calm the situation for the moment, and it'll be interesting to see now. Will they, knock it off a bit and allow everybody to get back in, or will they continue? For the moment it looks that they are continuing, but it's possible they have slowed down a little bit, and you just stay on the front. You don't get disorganised where some of your riders slip back into the peloton 30, 40th place. You just keep riding, but I think they're riding just as fast as they were before the crash.
They are. The man at the back there, as soon as he had a conversation with Cadel Evans, was straight on the radio talking to Gianni Savio. This was the message: can we hold it off until our guys get back on, maybe? Steve Morabito's been caught back out there. Cadel Evans, remember, is a fluent Italian speaker. Interesting to see what happens. The gap's down to 3:20 in the meantime, with 71.7 k's left. Beyond Tural, Danny Moreno, Philip Deignan, Sikar, Preidler and Vorganov. Hearing that Dario Cataldo, first man to rejoin the pink jersey group. Again, Team Sky once more almost down en masse there at the back. We'd already seen problems for Salvatore Puccio today. And again, the weather's improved, Sean, but we're seeing all these silly crashes. It's unbelievable the amount of crashes we've seen in the Giro this year.
Yes, I think everybody is so nervous. If there's a little bit of a sudden slowdown, everybody just go for the brake so hard, and then, of course, further back in the groove, if somebody is not concentrating, they just crash into the back of another rider and down they go. And I think, they're so tense and just so nervous because of all the crashes we've had. And from experience as well, when you have a race like that, you go out the following day after maybe having 2-3 crashes the previous day, you are nervous, and the very minute something happens, you want to go for the brakes so hard, and that is the danger one, because then they're going to crash in together and down they go. And it looked like it was a real straight section of road there. So did somebody touch the wheel, or was that the case? It did the slow down and somebody bashes into the back of another one and takes down 15 riders. And we could see Sky Sutton also was down there, so there was a lot of riders from Sky. And we see here no lit up at the front at the moment, 3:20 the advantage, and the guys who were on the ground for a while, they are going to have a long chase to get back in.
Well, somebody said that when the stage happened the other day and Evans pressed on, that it might come back to bite him in the bum. And I think it might just be doing so at the moment. Not himself having to wait, but of course Steve Morabito, a very much valued ally. And some of the Italian teams who might have been caught out may well see this as their opportunity to get one back over on Cadel Evans, justified or not.
No, I don't think it's really involving Evans at all here, because he, I know he is a man down there further back the road, but it's really for all the other teams that, everybody that goes down there, and the ones who have maybe been a little bit late taking off. But the situation is, we can see here with the team of Androni, they have been working for quite a long time, and if they start slowing down here, well then to close this one, I don't know if they will be capable of doing that. And when you're doing it, well then for a long time before the crash, if it was the race leaders team, BMC riding here, just controlling situation, there were a crash, they would certainly slow it down a bit, because they wouldn't be under pressure. 3 or 4 minutes extra is not going to really count. But here for Androni, every second counts here to see if they can close down this one to the big breakaway.
Andre Seitz getting back on, yet another stained jersey, and another one that's going to require some sewing somewhere in a workshop. Someone's getting a lot of work at the moment. Nicholas Roach riding at the front. Just alongside him in the green kit is Pierre Kemeneur. One team who are really sorted and very, very much involved in this group, Sean, Europcar. They've got 3 people in the break.
Yes, they're well represented, and with the final here, it's a big advantage to have a number of riders out front, because they are, if they do stay away in the final, they're going to be attacks, and when you have numbers, it's a big help.
Well, halfway through the Giro d'Italia, and this should have been a day tailor-made for the breakaway specialists. May well prove to be so. 14 riders are away at the moment. They have a gap of 3 minutes and 9 seconds. But there are a couple of teams that have missed out, and Androni being one of them. and their manager really making them work on the front here. In fact, we've heard that a few journalists have managed to get on the phone with him, and he says he wants to really honour the race. My riders have missed the break. We normally do it in the race, but we want to honour the race. Philip Deignan there in the break on the right-hand side. Francis Murray on the left. Francis Murray, by the way, is the only man within 7 minutes and 52 seconds of the GC. So he's the closest man. That's Edward Vorganov in the break yet again. Puncture comes through, one of 3 men in good cycling families in this break. Moreno Moser, Nicholas Roach and Bjorn Thorau, all with famous cycling relatives. The Italian, the Irishman and the German. 3 men for Team Europcar, as Sean mentioned. In the meantime, a Megaphone, a quick step, but just keeping tabs on what's being done here by Androni Giocattoli. Heard a rumour last night that Rigoberto Urán was planning a little sneaky attack over the top. Not sure if that will be true, given the fact that Urán tomorrow will be looking to put his best performance in possible. Final climb today, by the way, is the Naso di Gatto. Tops out, quite away from the finish. Not the most technical descent in the world to go down. What about you, Sean? If even if this gap does stay out in front, do you think that any of the GC contenders will be tempted by a little attack there, looking at the profile?
No, I don't think so. With 28 kilometres from the finish, and it descends, but there's quite a lot of little, kick-ups on the descent as well, and that is difficult when you go out there and try and create an advantage over the group of big favourites. You're going to make a big effort, and in the end, if it doesn't work out, well, you could pay a lot for that tomorrow. You could pay double, triple, and I think they will be all saying, keep every bit of energy we have for tomorrow. And the general classification men, I don't see them trying anything in the finals this stage.
Yeah, mind games going on by whoever planted that little thought in the press overnight. Certainly doesn't look the most inviting descent on the way down to actually take too much time out. As I said, not particularly technical, and at the moment these guys will be wanting to keep it going. There's will behind from Androni, but there's will from a lot of teams not to ride. The teams that aren't going to ride certainly are the likes of Bardiani, Française Deschamps, Cannondale, Lambre, Europcar, Giant Shimano, Tinkoff Saxo, Sky and Katusha, who all have men in the breakaway. Again, I'm looking down at Androni, maybe Belkin and Lotto Belisol, who've missed out on anything whatsoever today. Trek Factory Racing as well. But of course, teams such as Belkin and Trek really still do have men who are capable of doing something in the overall as well. Everybody a little nervous. As Sean said a little earlier on, it does tend to catch on. Everybody thinking about it, it's present in the minds, less hesitant when reaching for the brakes. Now then, front of the race, it's already split up once here, Sean, and it looks as though there's some real power being put down again.
Yes, we can see here it's a Saxo rider pushing the front. It looks like Nicholas Roach here, and this big group of 13 riders, if everybody is not contributing, well then it starts get unorganised, and they start attacking each other. But it's early days, 63 kilometres to go, and we can see that advantage, 2:45 at the moment. So Androni are doing a good job. They're closing it down gradually, and with the distance to the finish is going to be interesting. But I think with the manpower up front, if they realise that the gap is going to close, some will start to panic, and then everybody will start giving it a bit more on the front.
Well, it's actually Ivan Rovny who was in that front group, just waited at the back, brought Nicholas Roach back on. Tactical plans from within that small group are possible as well. And the fact that there are 3 Europcar riders there, 2 from Tinkoff Saxo, a couple as well from Team Katusha, versus all the other men who are on their own. Good work at the minute from Emanuele Sella. Haven't seen too much of him at all in this Giro d'Italia. Very, very quiet, Sella. Problems at the back for winner Anacona. Now, poor winner Anacona this morning tweeted to saying that he'd been up all night with stomach problems. Not the most pleasant of stomach problems as well, I can tell you. Very, very nasty night for him. Didn't sleep at all. And for him, it was all about survival today. 2 minutes and 50. We're hearing that Maxime Montfort is back on the back of the peloton. Still no word on Steve Morabito yet. Going through Collecchio. Some very grand pieces of architecture down here on the Ligurian coast. A lot of holiday homes for a lot of wealthy people in the cities of Turin and Milan. Well, many thanks to Michel Condé, who's the journalist in question, by the way. Got in touch with Gianni Savio. Gianni Savio good enough to tell him his tactical plan. Here we go. Let's announce it to the world for him. They want to be good enough to get Franco Pellizotti, their team leader, ready for an assault on the final climb. Now, Sean, he's 5 minutes and 46 back. That's not too much to worry about with everybody. And the final time trial, I should say final time trial, it's a time trial coming tomorrow because we've got the mountain time trial next week as well. Franco Bellizotti's not going to be anything for anybody to worry about, is he?
No, but I think Savio's answer is a bit of a story there. You know, honouring the race. I don't believe that he's making the rider suffer, as you said a bit earlier. You know, he's really, I suppose, unhappy with the situation, not having a man. When you look at 13 men up front and there's nobody there, he's probably on the radio to the riders. What is happening?
In nasty Italian swearing,
yes,
more like.
in nasty swearing. And you know, when they were not in there, then he said, "Well, now you can ride, guys, because we should have a man in there." And he's just, you know, making them suffer. He's punishing the team for not being in the breakaway. And with Pellizotti in the end, I don't think if it comes back together, it'll be so aggressive on the final climb. I don't think Pellizotti can, you know, be that strong and to ride away. And you know, you're going to really kill the team here, but they are closing it down. So if they get back, you know, early in the race, but if we get towards the final climb, well, these guys are going to be tired then, so they're not going to be many men capable of getting into the next move. Pellizotti probably the only one. So, you know, one man against, you know, a peloton of riders, it's a big call.
Well, exactly. Punishment being handed down from Gianni Savio, and very, very loud radios. I wonder how many people pulled their earpieces out at the front when he started shouting. You can bet that quite a few, I think. Philip Deignan there, 3 pro victories. Pro since 2005, and so many sacrifices to become pro. Remember, he sacrificed his own university degree and lied to his parents at the same time, telling them he was still studying Liverpool. Back at World Tour this year with Team Sky after being at United Healthcare last year. There's Jonathan Monsalve at the back, the man in the luminous yellow jersey with the blue panels for Neri Sotoli. He's the Venezuelan rider who we've seen out there earlier on. Right at the back here, Moreno Moser. Georg Preidler on the right-hand side. Nicholas Roach on the left. Now Johnny Hogeland comes to the front. Remember, for Androni, the reason we were talking about them is because their job at this Giro basically is to get in the breakaway every day. That's what Gianni Savio brings with his team every year. 189 kilometres into today's stage. Started earlier today. Just on this flat section approaching the climb, Naso di Gatto. And then the descent after that all the way into the seaside at Savona. Gap has come down to 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Those desperately hanging on at the back. We're off for a quick break. We'll bring you all the news from this latest stage of the Giro as soon as we come back. The winding hilly roads of Liguria, skirting the coastline of the Tyrrhenian Sea. Rafael Majka leads the overall young rider standing. Just looking very good for Tinkoff Saxo. Tinkoff Saxo still have their full team out there as well, remember. Fabio Aru just behind him. He's at 1 minute 39 back overall. Naso Buani's lead yesterday extended. Points competition is his by 24 points. Nizzolo's second just about everything he's done so far. But he's been consistent. Roberto Ferrari sprinting fairly well. Consistency the name of the game for him as well. He's in third. Climber standings look like this after more points for Julian Arredondo por me today. 61 points for him. He's ahead of Diego Lisi, Stefano Pirazzi, Robert Kieselowski, and the race leader, Cadel Evans. Waiting for time gaps from Androni, chasing all the way up to the 14-man break. In the meantime, this is how we stand by time. Megaformer Quickstep 56 seconds ahead of AG de la Mondiale. BMC Racing in third, Lampre fourth, Tinkoff fifth. And Lampre still bossing the super team competition, but Trek catching them, just 2 points behind. Orica Greenedge now down with 4 riders leaving the race, only 5 left for them. Francis Moury of the French team Française des Jeux in the blue at the front. Eduard Vorganov, the Russian rider, comes in front of him with the red and white. Now, one thing we didn't mention, and one thing that hasn't been brought up to our attention by Race Radio today, is that Enrico Barbin has also managed to get himself in the break. This is the back of the peloton, people coming back on all the time. A couple of nasty crashes again today, seemingly for no reason. The roads have been nice and dry. Haven't been too many technical parts of the course apart from that nasty descent earlier on that our cameras didn't manage to catch. Confirmation of the composition of the break there. Buongiorno, Moser, Monsalve, Barbin, Murray, Kemener, Sikar, Preidler, Vorganov, Tural, Moreno, Deignan, Roach and Rovni. So we were told that Jan Polans was up there in the break, the Lampre rider, seemingly not present, and it is in fact Enrico Barbin who's there instead of him. Our Race Radio spotters getting 107 mixed up with 37. This is the front of the race. Started off as a sunny day, but there's a few menacing clouds around. Thankfully, it's a little bit warmer than when we race these roads coming into San Remo in spring. The front of race starting to break up again. Gil Preidler coming through at the front. 2 minutes and 12. Sean, do you think this is a reaction to what's going on behind with Androni putting the power up?
Well, I think it's a little bit of that. You know, they're making the calculation. If they can get to the climb with a good advantage, a minute and a half, well then it's going to be a good possibility for the breakaway, or some of the breakaway, to stay out in front. And we can see there, you know, Androni riding a lot. They are taking it down, but I think it's going to be too little too late for them, because when they get onto the climb, you know, they are going to start losing ground then. And with this big group out front, you know, there are going to be some riders here who will go on the attack immediately. They need to go in the attack on the climb, because the group is too big, first of all. Then there's a lot of riders. You can pick out a number of names there who is going to be thinking, well, if I wait for the finish, I'm not going to have any chance in the sprint. And when it gets into an aggressive attacking the final number of kilometres, I'm not good at that. So if you're better in the climbs, well, that's where you can, you know, create the damage and create a big advantage as you go over the top of the climb, because it is a substantial climb. It's a second category climb, so you could, you know, really pull out 30-40 seconds as we go through the intermediate sprint here.
Intermediate sprint coming up, then Bardiani want it. They'll take the points. They'll take the money as well. Katusha rider coming in second place, who looked to be Eduard Vorganov. And the rider who's taken it was, in fact, Enrico Barbin. Dots out at the front. Vorganov just behind him on the right in the red and white. Danny Moreno just following his teammate. He'll come across in third place. Enrico Barbin picks up the points. So the intermediate sprint at Varazze goes and passes off. No places, no points to be mopped up by the peloton behind, so it should stay all calm for them as they come through in just a couple of minutes' time. Interesting that it all came back together again just before that happened. Little digs off the front that Sean were talking about as well. Androni, in the meantime, really putting the work on here. Looking for the pink jersey of Cadel Evans. Was keeping himself very, very close to the front. Waiting to check on how his teammate Steve Morabito is. There is the pink jersey. He's around 20 to 25 riders back at the minute. Still Androni with the Dutch champion Johnny Hogeland in third place there. Looks as though we've managed to get cameras on board with Stefano Zanata of Cannondale today. Shame we're not getting the audio through. Maybe there's one or two of those nasty Italian swear words we were talking about, Sean, being shouted down. It's that sort of day. Long live the Giro is the message by those sun loungers. As you can see, not required for the sunshine at the moment because that's gone and hid behind the clouds. Well, 53.7 kilometres to go. Remember, you're watching this on Eurosport Cycling. Sean Kelly alongside me, Rob Hatch. We'd love to hear from you today, as ever, if you're watching down under on Eurosport Australia, across Europe here on Eurosport International, or on British Eurosport in the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. It's hashtag Eurosport Cycling for your tweets, at Rob Hatch TV, if you want to get any questions directly to us in the commentary box. Time for a commercial break for us. The peloton at the moment, 2 minutes and 16 seconds behind, and Androni Giocattoli doing all of the riding at the front. Bad news for Team Sky fans, bad news for Irish cycling fans. Philip Deignan with a puncture at the most inopportune of moments. I can tell you he is 27 seconds at the moment behind the group. They're going along at 52 kilometres per hour right now. It's going to be a big, big ask for him to get back on, isn't it?
Yes, it is going to be a difficult one. You know, not a lot of cavalcade of cars there. Like when you have a flat or a mechanical in the bunch, you have all the team cars, and then you have, you know, number one car, number two car for the team. So, you know, it's a huge, long cavalcade here. It's much sharper. We can see Deignan taking off there. The car's already gone. Hopefully that he might get a little bit of the sticky bottle from Team Sky, Team Car, and get back in there. But 27 seconds, the way they're riding up front. And it's so unlucky that, you know, you puncture in a break like this, because it looks for me that this one, there will surely some of the guys out here hold on to the end.
43.769 is the average race speed. We're getting splits all the time in the peloton here. At the moment, we've got two groups. Nicholas Roach in the back group, as is Danny Moreno. 138 there is Jonathan Monsalve. Interesting, the group in front seems to be including the better rouleurs and the better climbers here at the back, Sean. They're trying to distance them.
Yes, well, I think there's a number of riders probably not going through and doing their part on the front, which, you know, we see here the Cannondale rider. He just moves up to the front. He rides Moreno Moser. You ride for, you know, 50 metres, 100 metres, and the strong guys can maybe do 150, 200 metres. But you get a guy, he just follows through in the drafting, then he gets to the front and he just moves over and cuts off his effort very quickly. And the riders will see that, and then you know, they're not happy with those riders. Some riders want to totally get carried along and sit on the rear of the group. And when you have a big group, that is the problem. If you have, you know, 5, 7 riders, they work well together. But when it gets to, you know, 13, 15 riders, well, then there's always some of them maybe fatigue, maybe making the calculation, I'll try and spare as much for the final of this one, spare my energy, and that's when it gets a bit disorganised. And we've seen that for quite a while here with this group. Is splitting all the time.
Splitting all the time. 1 minute and 53 now back to Androni, and I can tell you that Philip Deignan is caught somewhere in between. We had a time check of 27 seconds, but the group up front going at 52 kilometres per hour. Huge, huge fast speeds. And of course the Maglia Rosa group, the chase is on for them, but only really led by one team, Androni Giocattoli. Now, Sean, thinking about Deignan's very, very inopportune puncture there, it hasn't come at a great moment, because as soon as he's going to make this effort to get on, assuming a miracle does happen and he does get back on, then they start climbing straight away, and the climb itself is not an easy one. It's the Naso di Gatto, or the cat's nose, as we'll translate it literally into English. 7 category, we're talking 8 kilometres, around 9%.
Yes, well, you wouldn't need to spare as much energy as possible. When you're out there on the breakaway already, you have to ride, but with a big breakaway it does help a lot. But for Philip Deignan here, just to make it back in is going to be a big ask. The way they're going, I am concerned that if he doesn't make it in the next couple of kilometres, well then you can make that huge effort. And when you see that they're riding over 50 kilometres per hour, just imagine he has to ride 55, 60 kilometres per hour, and that's so difficult to do. You can do that for a short time, and on the flat as well. If it's more undulating, a sole rider, he probably can, make the effort better to get across to a breakaway. But against a big group of riders on a flat section at this rate is going to be difficult. And this could change the whole, the whole tactic in the race at the moment, because if Deignan doesn't make it, what will Sky do? Will they start riding as well on the front here if they see they haven't got a man up front? So we could see things changing tactically big time if Philip Deignan does not make it back into the breakaway.
Albisso La Marina, famous for its pottery. Philip Deignan back on. Wow.
Well done.
Congratulations. That is a superb effort. He needed that. Now, how much time is he going to have to recover? 47.6 kilometres to go. Climb itself beginning in around 3 or 4 kilometres when the road really starts to go uphill. Asher Dessert starting to ride at the front. Now that's interesting. Why would they be doing that at this stage?
Well, I think it's just about position now. Pozzovivo, of course, a little small, lightweight rider. He needs to be looked after, because if they are any a little bit of pushing for positions, he's not a good one to do that. And he's the first one, the big rollers, the sprinters will push out of the way, because they know, if you touch against him, that he will just go away from you. And the team are really around him here, and that's what they've got to do. Ride hard into the hill, really make it fast, and that way you will keep him up there close to the front.
Asher Dessert riding at the front. Androni just committing one man at the moment, so it has slightly changed the dynamic of things. Perhaps the punishment is over, and Mr. Savio said, OK, save some strength for tomorrow, boys. We shall see. 1 minute and 42 is the current gap. Superb ride, by the way, from Philip Deignan. As you said, just the one rider now committed. Cadel Evans, Steve Morabito, and all is well for BMC back in the peloton. And this is that fight that Sean was talking about. Everybody in their team formation now, looking to come to the front, looking to keep their leaders safe. Patrick Gretsch doing a great job for Asher Dessert. We've mentioned that their results have been much better this season. With the signing of people like Patrick Gretsch, Sean, it seems as though they're much a more complete team this year.
Well, I think, there's so many riders riding well. Gretsch, of course, we can see that he can ride in the front, and he also looks over his shoulder. He's just seen where his man is, and it has to be Pozzovivo and the rest of the good climbers. He's going to, just make the effort, get them onto the climb in a good position. And not an easy thing to do, to glance over your shoulder, quite regularly, because in the middle of the group there we know how much is nervous, but he can do that, and he's just, a real powerhouse.
45.9 k's to go. Still the gap goes down, 1:36. But it was nailed on today, that today, if any day was going to be one, was going to be a day for the breakaway. Colombia are suddenly interested. Track Factory Racing, again, riding towards the front. Enrico Gasparotto is the man with the Italian bands on his sleeves on the left-hand side. In the meantime, there will be nerves jangling in this break at the front. There's Enrico Barbin. Pozzovivo on the right-hand side, third wheel, being kept nice and safe, as Sean suggested. Everybody's got to keep working here, otherwise the break really does risk coming apart on this climb. .126 the gap at the minute. Lots of people riding on the front. It was Androni, they were the team that did the bulk of the chasing, mostly as punishment for not making the break earlier on today. We mentioned earlier on that Fabian Beckman had to abandon the race. Now we've heard some pretty disturbing news about him, if you think about this injury that we're about to tell you about. Poor old Fabian Beckman has suffered a complete tear of his left hamstring. It's painful just talking about that one, Sean.
Yes, it's frightening, and all the crashes we're having here and the injuries, like if you start looking at the number of riders have had bad injuries, which is going to take a long time, 4-6 months plus to get back at least, and if they can come back at all. it's just frightening, and that one is really, you know, put the shivers through your spine when you hear that injury he has got. And it's just going on here in this race, as we've mentioned earlier, just you know, crashes every day. We're into a section where it should be calming down, dry conditions, but they're continuing on.
Fabian Beckman then out of the race. He's on his way home to Germany for some surgery. Now, Mega Farmer quick-step riding very, very quickly on the front here and putting the hammer down, Sean Kelly.
Yes, we can see that they're just, I think, getting onto the climb as well. And, of course, you know, they want to get a good position with their general classification man, Rigoberto Urán. We could see Kaizen riding on the front, Elio Kaizen there, also blood on both knees, also, you know, down in the crash. And so many people we've seen that, you know, have been, as we can see him there, the left knee, right knee, also blood, the elbows just road rash everywhere, road damage everywhere. And we're after seeing so many riders here today, you know, that have been down the crashes. There's a huge number, not the crash we see on the flat section, but from the crash on the descent, there's, you know, at least 30-40 riders being on the floor today.
Elio Kaizen then is on the front, as is Alessandro Petacchi, and it's his home region. Alessandro Petacchi is from Liguria, from the south of Liguria, from La Spezia, just of the border region where the region meets Tuscany. Riding into Savona today, 1 minute and 4 seconds. And another 20-second goes from the breakaway advantage, just as though two fast men hit the front. Incredible. Everybody strong out. It's almost in single file here, and little gaps are starting to appear.
Yes, I think it's going at, we can see it's at a fast rate, single file. And the interesting one is, will it continue on when we get to the climb? It's all about position at the moment, but sometimes we see that the fast men, you know, we have the big strong rollers from Omega Pharma Quick-Step, they will get Urán onto the climb, and then sometimes they can settle down, and the big favourites start to look at each other, they settle into an easier pace, but the gap is coming down, and that's going to put the pressure on the breakaway, because we can see here they're also lined out here. They are made aware that the peloton is coming up quickly, and it's going to push those stronger ones to go on the attack very early on this climb.
Bardiani doing the work. They have Buongiorno, number 34 in the green, and the man with him is Enrico Barbin, the man who won the intermediate sprint a little while back. The gap has gone out again a little to 1:22 right now. Again, we've seen the twisty, turny approach to the climb through the town. Peloton behind, trying to stay safe. The safest way to do that, believe it or not, is to ride fast. Keep it strong out and keep it very, very thin at the front. Dani Moreno right to the front here as the climb begins. 40.6 kilometres to go. It's all the way uphill now, all the way to Naso di Gatto at 714 metres. Ivan Brovny takes over of Tinkoff Saxo, and everybody coming through to do their turn at the minute. Really have to fight to keep this break going now. It's going to be a big test when they hit the harder sections of the climb. Looking at the climb, around 8 kilometres long. Maximum of 13%. If you don't have the legs on those sections, that's when you'll start to struggle. Kaizen Petacchi still continuing. Fourth wheel at the minute is Rigoberto Urán, the leader. BMC on the left-hand side, trying to position Cadel Evans as well. Wilco Kelderman is the leader of Belkin, and a rider again who's been keeping himself quiet. Has showed a lot of class in the past. Left arm bandaged up at the minute, suffered in those falls. Just on the wheel of Alessandro Petacchi at the moment. Kelderman is another man who, if he keeps going in this Giro d'Italia, on one of the climbing mountain days, of which 10 remain, he'll be able to show what he's capable of. A very, very classy young climber from the Netherlands. Inside 40 kilometres now, 1 minute and 16. BMC taking it up on the left, Belkin in the middle in the green, white and black, the Dutch team. And on the right-hand side, their big rivals from over the border in Belgium. Omega Pharma Quick-Step in the black and white, riding for their main man, Rigoberto Urán. He seems to have lost contact with a couple of wheels there. Bernie Eisel coming to the front for Team Sky. Behind him, Konstantin Svitsov. Svitsov now being thought of by Team Sky as the leader, obviously, in that second position there. He's 5 minutes and 42 behind, and obviously seeing what he can do in this Giro now. This is where we are, 210 kilometres into the stage. A long old day today. course, it was the rest day on Monday, an easier day yesterday. But of course, today will be a real shock to the system for some riders, Sean, because not just because of the nervousness of the stage and the crashes, but also the distance.
Yes, well, the distance, first of all, but the nervousness and the aggressive racing all the way through. You know, we had this very fast racing in the beginning, then the break gets away, and of course we have seen Androni and not happy with the situation, and they really pushing on the pace. Normally when the break get away, then we would see race leaders, team control the situation and just riding on the front, and it would be a pretty casual day for the general classification men. It hasn't been the case. It has been very nervous today. They've been pushing on. It will be a very fast average, and you know, we've taken it up and getting into the final here, which would be normal anyway just for the climb, but not a day that I think some of the general classification men would be looking forward to with the big time trial tomorrow.
A rest that they wanted may not be exactly that. Manuel Quinziato right on the front, the Italian rider for BMC in the red and black. Race leader Cadel Evans just behind him.
And Moabito we see there back in control in front, so he's recovered and looking in good condition.
Doesn't seem to have too much road rash either. No grazed knees or elbows. That's good news for him and BMC in the days to come.